Jim Rohn became a self-made millionaire before he was 30 years old, having come from nothing. His amazing life story then took another turn as his skills as an eloquent and charismatic speaker turned him into one of the most respected motivational speakers who ever lived. Jim Rohn shared his perspective and wisdom with audiences around the world for over 40 years. People everywhere benefited from listening to his mixture of wisdom and common sense he had to impart to them. He wrote many books, starred in motivational tapes and videos, and gave live seminars trying to inspire people to change their lives for the better. He won many awards throughout his career as a motivational speaker, like the Master of Influence Award and the National Speakers Association CPAE Award. However, his greatest achievement will always be how he went from not even being able to afford cookies that cost $2 to becoming a powerful businessman and mentor to millions. His advice is applicable even years after his death, being able to truly encapsulate the essence of what it takes to survive and succeed in the new century. Before we begin, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you like to support the channel, please check out the link down below so we can keep spreading this valuable information. Jim Rohn always wanted his audience to go away knowing one phrase: it is possible to design and live an extraordinary life. The first thing Rohn wants a person to know is that life can be better than it currently is, if only one knows how to create the life they want. Personal development is at the core of his teachings, and he has a plan that any man can integrate into his life to achieve his dreams. The first crucial step to achieving this is becoming a self-reliant individual. How this is explained by Roth is that a man must be able to save himself before he can then turn and help others. He shares how his father always had an interesting saying he would tell him as he was growing up: "Son, right after me, you come first." Though it is said with humor, this idea is the kind of thinking that allowed his father to take care of his family and that later inspired Jim to take control of his life and provide an even higher standard of living for his own family years later. The other most prominent memory he shares that encapsulates the idea he wants to impart is that of his business partner, Bob Cummings, who would say, "I will take care of me for you. Will you please take care of you for me?" Two men who influenced Jim Rohn's way of thinking both separately hit on the idea that a man must be self-reliant. According to Jim Rohn, the first true challenge in life is to take care of yourself, and only after that can a man focus on their partner. Being able to nurture oneself is taking stress and worry off of their loved ones' backs and feeds their own sense of self-worth. Here is where some people might become confused and say that if they had to learn how to rely on themselves and make their own way, then their partner has to be the same way and needs to do things for themselves. However, this would be a bad way of going about things, as this limits and shrinks a man's life. Thinking only of yourself and what is best just for you all of the time would make your life insignificant in the grand scheme of things. While the first rule is to take care of yourself, it is only the beginning of a grander plan. The next move in Jim Rohn's path to building a beautiful life has to do with being able to provide a higher life for his partner. When he says this, it does not mean a life of glamour, but a life of togetherness. It is his understanding that people do not want to be lonely and alone, that has him including the wife and children into this creation of a better life, and thus taking on a great deal of responsibility in providing for an entire family. This is where the challenge in creating an extraordinary life goes up another level in difficulty, as he tells everyone that now they must not only learn how to provide for themselves, their partner, and their children, but add one being able to provide for more people outside of their small family unit as well. This is the way a man creates an extraordinary life. The purpose of wanting to provide more is not to hoard that wealth or to try and elevate oneself above others, but to be a man of benevolence, a man who is generous, a man who shares his wealth. The more a man can share, the more extraordinary he is. However, the path to an extraordinary life does not end here. He challenges everyone to take up another level again, to truly develop a ferocious work ethic and produce far, far more than even just what a man can provide for his family and community. Jim Rohn says that if a man has the skill, opportunity, and talent to do more, then he should, pushing himself to produce as much as he can and to be as generous as he can, because why not? Reaching to go beyond excellence is what makes a life extraordinary. Jim then shares what he knows of the steel industrialist, Andrew Carnegie, who was once the wealthiest man in the world, and when he died, he gave his entire fortune away. A man who lived an extraordinary life, dedicated to spending half of his life earning his wealth and the other half dedicated to sharing it. The moral being, if a man has the opportunity to live and design an extraordinary life, then why not do that very thing? The goal is never to be greedy or selfish, but to be self-reliant and magnanimous. After sharing the first and most important truth a man must know, Jim Rohn wants to highlight that simply learning this self-evident truth does not mean it will lead to an extraordinary life. The next step has to be to turn this into results. In his eyes, a man should not learn just for learning's sake. He must then turn that knowledge and wisdom into deposits into activity. All of a man's experiences should build into action and hard work that will produce things like hotels, institutions, careers, relationships. The next note is going home and turning everything into what he calls high activity. In activities that will reinforce and strengthen some aspect of a man's life, whether it be his home life and relationships with his family, his relationships with colleagues and career, or activities geared toward his health. What he means to impart here is the idea of self-discipline, a trait that is vital to a man's personal development. It is his perspective that names self-discipline as the bulwark of any great man's life. There was never an extraordinary person who was also unfocused, unmotivated, and lazy. To cultivate this trait is to prevent regret of missed time and opportunity later on in life. The self-made millionaire believed that the most important thing of all is that a man has to know that he cannot change anything but himself if he wants to turn his life around. To never lament that a situation is difficult, but to instead wish he were stronger, better, faster, to overcome the hardships in his life. This is the heart of personal development and the true key to creating a fulfilling and extraordinary life. Jim Rohn has an abundance of traits he feels men need to accept into their lives, and also some that he warns they must reject from their lives. Jim warns against cynicism most of all. The only thing you need to fail in your goals is to be cynical about everything. Life is all about opening and entering doors that lead to the next great thing, but a cynical view will ensure that all those doors remain locked. Instead, a man must be thankful for what he has, whether it be a great deal or very little, that he has to his name. Eagerness to learn is another trait he rates very highly. Always be happy to take notes and learn from every person you meet, no matter how knowledgeable you believe yourself to be. There is always someone a step ahead who is ready to share their ideas of how to advance even further. While changing your own perspective can change your entire world, it is possible. It is not often the easiest thing to do. How does one go from blaming the key to receiving wealth and respect and glory is to find a way to serve many people. Jim Rohn knows that to find a way to serve the most people is the key to greatness. If a man can help enough people get what they want, then he in turn will be able to have anything he wants. The modern man who most embodies this adage is Jeff Bezos, who made it possible for people to order whatever they could think of and have it delivered to their doorstep in a day. Now, he has everything he could ever want at his fingertips. Jim believed a man should strive to be named in somebody's testimonial because that means he is a person who helped them on their journey in some significant way. This is something priceless, to be known as someone who adds value to others' lives. His advice is that a man should focus on his person-to-person interactions and share meaningful moments with others. This is the process in which a man will appear in others' memories, stories, and testimonials long after they are gone. A man's legacy is all he will have at the end of his life.